Relocating to a new country. Why does culture matter? How do you run a not-for-profit and stay above board? Modern day slavery, the danger, the damage, and the deliverance. My guest today on Lady Shayo Speaks, Margaret Jumoke Taribo, talks about her work with BAME families living in the UK and gives advice on things to consider before relocating. So today on the show, Lady Shayo Speaks, I have a wonderful person. She has been a source of inspiration to me. And I'm sure at the end of this session, she is going to be a wonderful source of inspiration to you. Today, we are talking about supporting BAME families, the chances and the challenges. And with me, I have Mrs. Margaret Jumoke Taribo. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Lady Shayo, for having me.
And thank you for, accepting my invitation. Now, I'm going to quickly read your profile. And at the end of that, I'm going to ask you just to tell us one or two things that are not covered, one or two things about yourself that are not covered in the profile. Now, Mrs. Margaret Jumoke Taribo is a pastor and community consultant. She also serves as the music director for Unique Women. She runs two organizations, and she's the CEO of the Distinct Family Services and also the executive director for Parent Skills to Go. She's a speaker, trainer, and mentor to parents with young children. She delivers and facilitates different projects for communities and faith groups, which also include families with no recourse to public funds or who are waiting to regularize their immigration status. She runs holiday clubs and holiday trips for families. So if you are a family living in the UK, or you know families who are here in the UK and they want to organize something for the kids for the holidays, you need to get in touch with her. I'm going to put the links to all both her organizations under this video. And I tell you that some of those trips, they are absolutely amazing. They're lots of fun for children and at really, really affordable prices. So you don't need to break the bank in order to give your family a wonderful holiday experience. You need to get in touch with Mrs. Taribo and she will sort you out. She's also the author of Living Life in a Foreign Land. It's the story of liberation from human trafficking and modern day slavery. And I'll also put the link under this video so that you can get a copy of the book. I have read the book and I'm telling you, it's a book that will give you some sober reflection. It's the true story of two women who actually were trafficked. They came to the UK thinking that they got a job, but in actual fact, they were trafficked. And fortunately for them, they were able to, be delivered from that nasty situation. For a lot of people, it's not the same. Some people are bound in that unpleasant situation. So in all your attempts to jackpot out of Nigeria and jump into the UK, you need to be very careful. And Margaret will tell us more about what we need to do to avoid falling into that kind of situation. So very quickly, can you just quickly tell us about yourself, something that is not in the profile that I just read?
Okay, thank you once again, Shayo, for having me. So what's not in my profile? I think I didn't say, there's something I need to say, that I love God. I have a passion for what I do and I have a passion for God. So everything that guides me, whatever I do, is because I love God. And it's one thing, sometimes people get involved in projects, they get involved, they work because they've got to have money. Money is important, but I think what drives me is my passion for what I do. So for where I've come from and for where I am now, I think it's my passion and my love for God that drives me. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So we can see that it's your love for God that enables you to actually support families and help them go through difficult times that they might be experiencing. So
yes, and just to add to that, I'm not saying it's easy, because it's about, I think this program and what you're doing is a fantastic one, but I also think that it's about being real in what you're saying and what you're doing. So I'm not here to like color code or sweet coat or anything, because in loving God and doing what you do and having passion, doesn't mean that what you do is easy. It's just being real, and you have to be driven. So when I say I support families, it's not, sometimes you say, I don't want to really do this, but you do it
You just have
because,
to, yeah,
yes.
because of the passion you have. So
Yeah.
now, for the benefit of people who don't live in the UK, what is BAM, and what are the challenges that BAM families experience?
I think that word itself is changing in most recent times. So when you look at the word you call the BAM or BAME, it's talking like, Black and minority ethnic communities or ethnic groups. Recently, or in recent times, it's actually changed to POP, like people of color.
Oh, okay.
And there's also then so POC, people of color, or you have what you call Black and brown
Okay.
communities. Yeah,
Different
they're
different
different.
names.
They're different names because people want to be politically correct. We've got to now, so we don't seem to be offending. Or some people say that, are we actually in that category? So there's a lot going on. But the long and short of it is that we're talking about people from our community, people that are from the Black, minority ethnic groups, and ethnicity in terms that we might see that yes, we're a lot, but are we majorly the important people, or the people that count? So when you say minority, in the terms of being in a particular community, you might not be considered, even though you might be in
Okay.
many. So that is
Oh,
what
okay.
it really stands for.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's static. So what are the challenges that the minorities face?
Um, People might say yes, or people might agree, and some people might say no and disagree. But from the work I've done over the years, the challenges can be financial. It can be
Okay.
in terms of settling into the country or the community. It can be language. When I say language,
Language
I'm
and
not
possibly
necessarily saying
culture,
that
I
we don't
suppose. Yeah.
speak English. It's about the fact that, do you understand the curriculum, the vocabulary, the words, the language the system uses for certain things. It might be in
Yeah.
terms of
I
engage.
even as I thought I speak English, but I can actually say that there are certain contexts. I think it's the
Yes,
context, certain contexts that you might interpret one way, and they mean something completely different. So if you're coming over to this part of the world, you have to understand that you have to look at the entire context, not just certain words and pick them out. They sometimes mean different things completely, and also the culture. I think
yes.
that culture shock also, people need to appreciate the fact that yes, there is a different kind of culture. So it's not what you might have been used to from where you're coming from. You're coming into another environment that has a completely different culture. So
Yeah.
people need to understand that as well. So I would see that as a challenge, yes,
It's a
to
big challenge. And
people
just to bring
relocating.
that, yeah, and to bring that home a bit more, I'll just like a short story to make that real. I was when I've like being born here, going back, then coming back, I attended an interview for a program I was going to go on. And part of the interview process was asking me about um so tell us about your understanding about the big lottery. I had no clue. I thought it had to do with gambling. So this is just to make it real. So, and it had nothing. It was just a charity,
Oh
a
my god.
funding, yeah, which I didn't know at that time. I'm talking about over 20 years ago now. But I just came with that because, oh, they're
Oh,
talking
must
about
if it's
gambling.
lottery, it's got to be gambling.
So that is just, yeah, that's on the lighter side. That is
A
exactly
typical
how I
example
thought.
of
So
how we can make
we
simple
do,
mistakes, yeah, because of the
yes,
difference in culture and the context of what we understand, how
yeah.
we understand things. So now let's talk about your book and the realities of modern day slavery. Can you just maybe give a brief synopsis of maybe one of the stories covered in the book? Don't give too much away because I want people to buy the book, but maybe just on the surface.
Okay, the book really talks about real life situations, but in a fun way, in an exciting way, in
Yeah,
a
it was
real
actually very.
way.
In fact, when I picked up the book, I didn't put it down until I finished reading it.
Yes, and in a simple way, a child can actually read the book. It talks about how people, that there are two different scenarios of how people were trafficked
Yeah,
without them knowing that they were trafficked. Because you
yeah,
think, oh, I'm
yes.
just going to London, I'm going to the UK. Your picture of how the UK is or how London is quite
Mm-hmm.
different from how they were trafficked. the process of being here, how didn't know they were even into slavery, was what you call modern day. So what we take, some of the things that we take for granted in a place like Nigeria or Africa, it's normal for people to be enslaved, but here it is
it's
not.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things involved in that. And then how did they get out of it? And the process, because nothing is as straightforward. How
exactly.
did they get and then sometimes the evidence, how are they believed? The struggle. Sometimes you think something's going to happen in 6 months. It ends up being 10 years.
Wow.
So I still had a phone call from the Home Office this morning, working on the case I'm involved in. So it's a long thing, because that's one of the things I do. So I support families with no recourse. Some of it is like you've got to go to court with them. Some of them you've got to there's a lot involved in that. So so this book actually is based on the issues that some of the parents I've worked with have faced, and some of them are still facing. Yeah.
And still facing. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Now, I just want to ask you, talked about people, being trafficked and they didn't even know that they were trafficked. So what would be your advice to people to avoid falling victims of modern day slavery, especially as there's so much pressure on people that wants to leave third world countries and come over to the UK? What advice would you give them? What are the signs? What are the things they should look out for? How would they know that they're actually being trafficked and things like that, to avoid, themselves falling into that kind of situation?
Well, if I'm going to be as real and as honest and blunt as I need to be, I think the first thing I'd like to say is that be real to yourself. Why do you need to be in another country? How much have you found out about that country? Many times, unfortunately, we are blinded, or we choose not to face the real situations. We don't do our homework. So the people that want to get you over, or the people you pay a lot of money to, they sense and they smell desperation. And when they sense and smell that, it's just like
they will exploit it.
They will exploit it. So I would like to suggest that find out what is the real situation. Where are you going? Why do you want to go there? Sometimes I even tell people, especially in the current situation of the cost of living in different countries, it's real, but it's more in some places than others. But you're coming over. Because sometimes people say, no, you're telling me that because you're already there. No.
Yeah, that's usually what people say. You're there. Why I too want to go over.
Yeah, let me just go anyhow. I just need to get there. Once I get there, I can sort myself out. That hustling spirit. I just need to hustle. I'll make my way through. And that's the situation with so many people. And then when they now face it, it can be very painful, because you're not in the system, and then you're in the system. There's the level of trust. People don't trust us and it might be housing, it might be your finance,
getting
or whatever.
A job and all
if you're coming in and you come in with you've got you know what you're doing, you've got a job, it's different. But even if you do get a job, there's another set of challenges that you've got to face. So if you might have the job, but do you have the accommodation that first? What do you have to pay for? So there's so many things that you have to consider. So, but there's some people, they're different categories. Some people say, I'm coming in with a year, 6 months, and then they overstay, and that's another
set of problems entirely.
And then some people, they're legally here, but there's another set of challenges as well. Getting the right job, earning the right amount. And yes, and then, do I actually want to do this job they're giving me? And then do I have the experience to work in it? So that you have to weigh your options very well. So yeah, there's a lot to be said in terms of that. I'm actually working, hopefully this year, we're going to be having a conference with another person I'm partnering with to discuss, especially with you're bringing your children over, the education system. What do you need to understand? So we're working on that.
That's another conversation entirely.
That's another conversation.
Exactly. Getting your kids into school. It's another thing.
The way we get our children to study, and we're very academically focused in Africa. Here, it's
It's
not like
different.
that.
It's
So
completely
you've
different.
got to really think about that. Some of the sessions I do, like you mentioned about the holiday club, my focus is actually the parents. So if I study and I work with the parents to help them engage. So yes, you might be working and getting the money, but how much of engaging are you doing with your child to make sure
Yeah,
that your child mental health is a big issue? Isolation
exactly.
is a big issue
And here they
because it
monitor
looks
everything. If your child is funny, they're reporting to social services. Before you know it, has become a big issue. It didn't,
it's
if he gets to school and says, I'm not, my mommy doesn't give me breakfast, it's an issue.
Yeah,
It's
but the
an
thing is
issue.
that you might even be giving your child all these
Oh,
things, but
it's an issue.
there's no
Hmm.
relationship. Our children need that relationship. How much are we engaging? Which is one
Engaging
of the
them.
reasons why I do the programs I do. Come and do it together. Let that child, because some of the things we do is about early prevention. We're preventing things from escalating. We're preventing children from getting into trouble in the future. We're preventing them from getting out with the wrong friends. When we inform the parents, when we work with the parents, when we build up the confidence of the parents that, look, this is where you're at. What do you really need to know for yourself? And that can impact on your children. So these are the things that, so it's a different thing entirely. That, yeah, but at least I take care of my child. They're wearing nice clothes. That is not enough.
It's
It really
yeah,
is
it's
not.
more, it's much more than that. It's really much
Yeah.
more than that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot there. There's really, really a lot there. Now let's go to the business side. So you run two organizations, and you've been doing that for a number of years. So talk to us about these organizations. They are both not for profit, if I'm correct.
One is for profit. So
Okay, one is
distinct
for profit,
families, yes,
one is not for profit.
not
Okay,
for
so just
profit.
talk to us about the business side
Okay.
of what you're doing.
So distinct family services, that through that I have a YouTube channel. So that's
Yes,
where
that
we
reminds me. Please follow her YouTube channel.
so the YouTube channel actually talks about most of the issues we're raising here. It might be about immigration, it might be about mental health, it
And I'm
might be
sure a
about,
lot of people will be interested in all of those issues. So
yes.
please, you need to go to
We
the
speak
channel
about
and watch
autism.
all the videos and
Yes.
get all the information that you need. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about creating that awareness about what's happening, issues about yourself, about the community, about the country, different topics that can impact on our well-being. That is what the YouTube is all about. And the book is, we sell the book. I am a speaker, so people invite me to speak at the, so that's what Distinct Family focuses on really.
Okay.
So, so for the but there's an overlap. So because what I do with that, this also comes into play with parent skills to go. So I am the chief executive officer. I have a number of people that work with me.
Okay.
I train volunteers. So it's more volunteer based. So we get people that have passion or want to develop a skill. They want to get back into work.
Okay.
They need that base. So we actually act as that base. What do you want to do? What skills do you want to develop? Where can you fit in? So is it our digital platform? Is it our holiday club platform? Is it the office place platform? Where do you
Right.
want to fit in? What skills do you want to develop? So we have a volunteer base that we use for that. We also, you've mentioned, we have the holiday club. So when we talk about the holidays, it's about providing platforms during every holiday where we can do arts and craft, music, storytelling, things that can engage our children. So the young people, we have a platform for them where they develop stuff. They're very creative. We've launched 3 editions of a comic book for young Black children.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yes, we've done that. We're working on our 4th one this year, which is going to focus on social media and climate change.
Oh,
We
okay. And
also,
that's a very
yeah,
hot topic. Yeah. Climate
yes.
change. Yeah.
So we work on that throughout from starting February. So it goes through the year and then we launch it during Black History Month. We also have, like I said, we do training and workshops for parents. So it might be on digital skills. It might be on money matters. It might
Okay.
be on, I have a project called My Child and Me, looking at the issues that have to do with you and your child, especially as it relates to mental health. So we have a number of training and workshops that we do. I work with partners. I work with health visitors, social workers, the home office to make sure that we're communicating, we're supporting families. So sometimes, like yesterday, I had people visiting. So where do we signpost to? I don't have all the answers, but what I do is work with other partners that we can support families together. Where do parents need to, families or individuals need to go that can provide that support in addition to what I do? So
Wow.
yes, my doors are really, what I try to do is to make sure that my doors are open. We are welcoming as much as possible. It's not always an easy thing, but we use the soft outreach, what is what called the holiday clubs, the events we do to actually say, yeah, we're here, and get parents. And we've had a lot of testimonies, really. Parents that have been homeless, parents that have slept on the bus before, parents that have had difficulty in having children, giving birth to their babies. And then they come in and they, said, yes, this is where I was, this is where I am now. It might be in terms of knowledge, development, volunteering, and getting back into employment, training. Yes, we do that. Yeah.
So it's like the support is really like 360, both the spiritual part of it, the mental health support, getting them back into work, the financial, and also helping them bring up their families in the midst of the challenges that they might be facing, like homelessness, especially because they're not documented, or they're still waiting for their immigration status to be regularized. And I know that for a lot of people is an issue. There are so many people that are in this country who are having different issues with immigration. So can you just maybe talk a little bit about that? What are the things that maybe you do to help these people, or what are the things that people can do to regularize their immigration status?
I don't think there's a black and white way of saying, do it this way, because the law keeps changing every day. It changes every day. So nothing, with the Home Office, with people that work with the no recourse public team, the shortage of funding, there's a lot of issues pulled together. But what I do is, or what I can say is, be as honest as you can with your situation. Because what people need to understand is that organizations, agencies, they speak to each other.
Yes, they do. And the internet has made it so easy.
Yes. If you tell a story to this person, that story needs to be reflecting how we say, because we do speak to each other. And then half truths is not really helpful, because as honest as you can be is what people, so I'm sorry to say, some people don't really like the truth. So they tell you what they think you need to hear, and what they think you need to hear might not necessarily help you in the long run. Yeah. That's another aspect. You also need to be aware of the fact that something that you might think might take a day. I had a situation recently, and she said she struggled because sometimes we have people that have domestic violence in their situation. They are asylum seekers. I work with them all. But sometimes when you come into the country, you're thinking you're running away, but then you now get involved in a system that is not as straightforward as you think it is. Then you now hear, oh, I thought my case will be different. I thought it will be sorted. Let's be honest, sometimes it's not as quick as you think it should be. And that's where we have situations whereby you might be disbelieved because of people that have lied before. You might have the system might not, there might be a lack of staff, or people not talking to themselves internally. So these are the things that impact on our families. And you have to be aware that, yes, you're on a journey, but how do I do things right properly? One of the things I tell people, make yourself comfortable. Do what you can to live right now. Don't, because if you keep on thinking, I need to get off this housing situation. Yes, you do need to get out of it. I need to get off this immigration. I need my papers to be sorted. But on the process, on the journey, what are you doing? What are you doing for your own mental well-being? What are you doing to keep safe? What are you doing to support yourself? How isolated or how involved, how integrated are you? So on the journey, I will say, get involved in as many things as you can. Don't sit down and say, oh, I've put my papers in. And then sorry to say, I need to say this. There are many, many lawyers or immigration people that are scamming a lot of people.
That's another thing, yeah.
We don't read the documents. We don't, because they sense that as well. You get a lawyer that says, oh, because he supported this one. Each case is different.
It's different.
Be real with your case. Be real with your situation so that you can get the right person to support you. And sometimes they might say no. So if they say no, what's the process of appealing? What do you need to do? Who do you need to work with? Some people are working and working. They put all their money together to get a lawyer. And at the end of the day, it can be very depressing when they get turned down. So it's a painful thing for so many, but like I said, who are you talking with? Who are you integrating with? What are you doing on that journey? There are things you can do, because some people will say, oh, because I don't have my papers, I can't get involved. I don't have my papers, I can't do this, I can't do that. Trust me, there are things you can do. It's just that you've got to find the right support. You've got to find the right level. You've got to find the right people. So that's what I have to say with that. Yeah.
Okay, so like you said, people need to educate them, to equip themselves with as much information as possible.
Yes.
So read up, read the fine print. Don't, there's a saying that says if you want to hide something from an
From a
African,
black man,
for a
give him a
black
book.
man, write it in a book, because we won't read it. So, and I've known that if you're actually going to survive in this UK, you need to learn how to read. You need to learn how to read and follow simple instructions.
But Shayo, let me just say something. There are a lot of people, not just because we're coming to the country, even here, a lot of people can't read. They won't tell you whether white or black. But be honest about it. You can get support. So don't say, oh, until I know how to read. Whether you read or not, just be saying, I don't understand this. I think it's about humility as well. Say, I don't understand this language. I don't understand this. There are classes, but even if you can't, just get the support to say, please, I need you. That's why you have people that translate. That's why you get people to support other people to attend the meeting. Be honest enough. There's sometimes people even going into a school, there's an issue with a child. You don't have to go alone. Get somebody to go with you. It might be a friend that understands it. They say, you let the teacher, the head teacher know that I've got my friend with me. I hope you don't mind. That is part of building, because one of the courses I do a lot of training. I do one-to-one. So in terms of building your confidence and know what you can challenge in a non-aggressive way, so that you don't sound to be aggressive, but you're being assertive by bringing somebody or taking somebody with you. It's very important. So it's not about saying, reading or understanding, because we don't want to kill, because people, it's we have to be real. Sometimes I can't be bothered to read stuff. So like I said, but let's work
getting
together.
Support.
Yes.
Okay, that's absolutely fantastic. So get the right support that you need to help you in your journey. And you also said that whatever situation you find yourself in, because you need patience. Some of these things take time, and the desired result you want doesn't always come as fast as you would like it. So you need to be able to at least enjoy the journey, not just endure the journey.
Fantastic.
Okay. So, now, can you just maybe share, because we're almost out of time, but can you just share some of the future plans for your organization? Do you have any maybe major projects that you're working on or you're planning towards in the near future?
Yes, we've recently settled in an office, so that's now a big part of me working strategically. And I'm working with other funders as well to make sure that we are able to make sure that our projects are accredited, so that we can at least work with different organizations. Because what we've realized is that we come from with a different culture. We're working in a place that they don't necessarily understand our culture. So it's about bridging that gap. It's saying, so no, this is where we're coming from. So some of the projects we're doing is actually tailored to that, so that apart from working with families, what about the organization? What about other practitioners? Getting them to understand, even through play, what is it? I was just been invited to talk about it about young people at the mayor's office, things like that.
That's a big
so
one.
These are things that we are trying to work with different bodies, agencies, that we represent a body, we represent a community that you might not hear from. So it's about giving them that voice. So that is our focus at the moment. And like I said, I'm working on a project called My Child and Me. So that My Child and Me is an early intervention program. So we work with different schools, parents from schools, parents from faith groups. It can be even in Africa, in Nigeria. We can have online projects whereby we do this program whereby you understand what does mental health actually mean for you as a parent, but then actually what does it mean for your children? So we have a situation where we're from Africa or from Nigeria, then we're having children in the UK, and they think I'm depressed. No, I said, you're not depressed. Let me get rid of that depression. Go wash the plates. Then you feel better. So, but there are different things about how they study. What does it mean for them to say, you must go to university? Do they have to go to university?
Do they have to? Yeah.
Do they have to go do that degree? Do they have to do? So it's about looking at those different things, the role of culture in schools, the role of culture for us as Black and African people, the role of, there are different aspects. So that's what My Child and Me is about, so that we can, give or set a good legacy for our children in a land that's not necessarily theirs. So it's about those things because, there's so much to do, there's so much to give, and there's so much to get.
Wow, that's a lot. So we're coming to the end of today's episode. I'd like to say a very, very big thank you to my guest. And so if you have issues, you are in the UK or you are planning to move to the UK, check out all her links, gather as much information as possible. And I'm sure she will be able to provide, more insights into what you need to do it in the right way and to do it safely. And like I said, she supports families. She supports she has a lot of programs that support families. So if you're here in the UK with your family, summer is just a few months away, do get in touch with her. She has a lot of family packages, holidays, road trips, sightseeing, all sorts of activities for children. I know there are fun and games, a lot of things that children can participate in. So you need to get in touch with her and book your holiday activities, book them and you have to book quickly because I understand that they sell out very quickly. And they have time frames. So if you don't book in time, you're not going to be able to participate. So take advantage of everything that she has to offer. So finally, before we sign out, what would be your last word to our viewers?
Oh, I just said, be real to yourself. Celebrate who you are as a Black, African, Caribbean, whoever. And whatever you need to learn. Knowledge is power. But it's not just the fact that knowledge is power. The knowledge that you receive and use, that is where the power is. It's not just about gaining that information. It's about how you use it. And how humble are you to get the support you need? So yeah, that's what I have to say to it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it from us today. It's been a wonderful and very informative session. Thank you once again to my wonderful guest. And I will see you on the next episode of Lady Shayo Speaks. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me once again. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.